Hey, so I wanted to see how you guys are feeling today because we've had a couple of pretty bumpy days, and yesterday was um, really intense energy coming through. So I know that many of us could feel it in our nervous systems, right? Our nervous systems felt like they were holding a huge amount of energy, like a big load of energy that came through, and we kind of had to process that. So it's interesting because just before that, like a few days leading up to that, we were getting the waves of bliss. So like the huge love energy coming through, which feels so much different, right? It feels so much lighter, it's inspiring, it's healing, it's transformational. And then we out of like it's seemingly out of nowhere, right? Because here's the thing that happens is that we don't see everything that's happening behind the scenes. That's why this game of life gets so complicated and feels like it's so twisty and turvy, because or curvy, because here in the 3D realm, we can see things. If you see you're going to walk across the street, you can look both ways and see if a car is coming so you don't get hit by a car. But in the astral realm, which we are very much part of, we can't see it while we are in our 3D avatar, if that makes sense. And that's why many of us who are empaths and sensitives can feel the stuff happening, so we can feel it coming in, but it doesn't necessarily prepare us for it because we don't get all of the nuts and bolts of it. We don't get, okay, well, this is what's happening. This is why, this is part of the dark agenda. They're now hitting us with some really, maybe a massive dose of radiation, or control manipulation program is running, whatever it is. We don't get the memo in the morning that says to us, okay, so be prepared because this is what's coming for you. And we don't. And so what happens is most of us start to feel it first emotionally, right? We can start to feel it like maybe there's some anxiety or like, and I'm talking about, this is different than your own stuff. This is different than your own anxiety about stuff, your own depression about stuff, your own sadness about stuff. This is different because this is collective energy. And so what happens is it literally feels like it comes out of nowhere. So that means one moment you're fine, you're doing everything you need to do, you're feeling like you're in the light, you're holding space. And then the next moment you're like, whew, like, what the fuck? What was that? And that's kind of how it's been going for us. Like we've just, it's like they're saying to me blindsided. And so it does definitely feel like all of a sudden we just get blindsided by something. And we're like, oh. And so pay attention, because I know what happens for me is when those waves come in and they're so different from the waves that we have been in, I instantly drop into fear. I instantly drop into, oh no, what's this? Where's it coming from? What can I do to escape it? How do I, right? I instantly drop into fear about that. And that's why they do what they do. This is why the dark agenda does what they do. They do things to drop us into fear. When we drop into fear, our vibrational frequency drops. We no longer held in the light. We're no longer in the light. We drop. And when we drop, we lose connection. So it's literally like, say we've got our, we're out in the war zone and we've got our walkie-talkies or we've got our radios, and then all of a sudden we have no connection on the radio. It's just static. And that's what happens. And that's why they do it to us, right? Because what happens is when you can drop somebody into the fear vibration and hold them in that vibrational state, they become very easy to control. They also become sources of energy for the dark agenda. And I know this may sound like, very woo-woo, very out there, but it's true. This is true. It's It's our purpose, it's our mission, it's what's happening on this planet right now. It's why the souls are here. This is why we are here, why we're doing the work that we're needing to do. Again, the crazy aspect of it is that not everybody understands it. Even people who are holding the light, that are doing the light work and holding the light for the light agenda, they don't completely understand it. They haven't been briefed on their mission. And so they don't know exactly what they need to do, and they don't know exactly what they can do when they fall into the fear. It's interesting because Spirit's just showing me the same kind of thing about when you have a baby. If you're a parent, if you ever had a child, it's interesting because I can remember when we had our first baby, which is almost 21 years ago. I bought all the books, right? There were a few books. So you could, the what to expect when you're expecting. And we read them like page by page because we had no idea what we were getting into. I was an only child, so I had never had any brothers or sisters. My husband just had a sister, but, neither of us had been, raised a child or given birth to a child or had any of that. So we were learning it from scratch, right? And so it's kind of the same thing when we are on our soul's journey, when we are on the ascension path, when we're here doing the work we're doing, we're kind of doing it from scratch because what happens, and this is interesting, is that, of course, our souls have incarnated many, many times and learned many things and have much wisdom. But each time we incarnate, we get an amnesia. There's an earth amnesia that kicks in. And that amnesia completely wipes everything out. So here's the thing, we don't completely forget about it because it's part of who we are. That knowledge, that awareness, that understanding, it is part of it's the essence of who we are. But it's only activated while we are in the light. It is suppressed while we are in the dark. So it's interesting because I was asking, Spirit about because yesterday was rough. It was rough. The neurological stuff was happening, the brain zaps, the intense waves of sadness and despair and all of that coming through. And when I was feeling into it, I had this conversation with Spirit where they were talking to me about falling off the spiritual bandwagon. And so really that's kind of what happens, right? When we have these big energy systems that come through, sometimes we're lucky because sometimes they're quick. Sometimes they're 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever they may be. And then we manage to get through it. Our frequency comes back up and we're doing okay. We're back on track. But other times we literally fall off the spiritual bandwagon. So meaning, it's hard to do the things that you would normally do that keep you in the light, right? Let me know in the comments if this is you, if you're feeling this, that, and it happens to all of us, but it especially happens when we get those big dips in energy, right? The collective energy, because with that collective energy, there's the collective purging. So other souls who are maybe a few steps behind you on their journey, a few steps behind you on their releasing, healing, clearing. So maybe their stuff is coming through more and we're feeling that. But let me know in the comments if you feel those dips where you just feel like, fuck it. I can't do this anymore. I know for me, it's hard. I can remember, I haven't had this for a while, but I used to get it a lot, where I would literally feel like I want to tap out. Just tap me out of this program. I can't do this anymore. I cannot ride these waves anymore. I cannot find the strength to do this, to carry on anymore. Just tap me out. I'm waving the white flag. I want to be done. And I know how hard it is when you feel like that, when you're in that state, to climb out of it, to find the light through it. And it's almost like the only thing that you can do when you're in that state is surrender to it. And I was never a good surrenderer. I don't know if it's the Aries energy in me. I don't know if it's the the empath in me that feels the need to survive at, at all costs. But I would literally feel like I was disconnected, like there would be that huge disconnect. And when you're feeling that, it's hard to get that light back. And it becomes more of a, and here's, and I would take the classes and read the books and watch the videos and talk to the people and do all the things. And it just wouldn't be enough. And that's because there has to be that surrender frequency that we emit, that kind of the letting go a bit, a lot, right? Of the, okay, I can't do this anymore. And what I am doing isn't working. So I'm surrendering it to God. I'm surrendering it to the light. I'm surrendering it. I'm in your hands. Please just guide me. Give me guidance, inspiration, direction. That's kind of where we need to go when we fall off the spiritual bandwagon, because it can be really hard to get back on. And you'll find that, especially in those really, really low dips of energy, like yesterday or building up to it, it's hard, right? Like it's hard to find that inner strength. It's hard to get that conviction. It's hard to, think, oh, okay, well, I should only be doing this stuff because this is helpful for me. It's hard. I get it. It's hard. So ride the waves the best you can, but keep in that mind, in your heart, kind of intuitively, remembering who you are, right? You are the light. You're from the light. You're with the light. I find that if I do that, it gives me enough momentum to kind of ride out the waves now, the little bit of the darkness. And also, too, those are days where I can give myself permission to just coast a bit. I don't have to solve anybody's problems. I don't have to do anything for anybody else. I continue to take care of myself. That's important. I continue to make the best decisions for myself. So meaning, and whatever that means for you. So for me, it means, I continue to do my lemon water, my lemon ginger honey water, continue to do my celery juice. I continue to do my heavy metal detox smoothie. I continue to do all the things that I know support me the most, because I know that everything else, frequency-wise, emotion-wise, is not supporting. So there's going to be, I feel like for the next little while, we're going to have a lot of the falling off the spiritual bandwagon. And remember, every time, then they're saying to me right now, every time that happens, it's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for us to be like, to take accountability, right? This is the thing that we have to remind ourselves about. There's so many who want to spiritual bypass, who just want to, not do the work. They just want to watch the video, read the book, and then because they've done that, they want to then ascend. And it doesn't work, because we can't ascend while we're holding these dark frequencies. The whole reason why we feel the affection of the collective energy comes through is because we're carrying those frequencies within us, right? We have that resonance with those dark frequencies. And so we have to continue to do the light. And the only way that we get rid of the dark frequencies is by bringing in more light, carrying more light. But we also have to have the awareness of our own crap, right? We have to have the awareness of what's ours and what's not ours. And so remember, if it's an ascension wave, like we've just experienced, and it's not your stuff, it will come through and it will go. And it will happen like that. If it's your stuff, then, and if it's activating your stuff, the wave will come through and stuff will stay for you. So then take accountability for that. Take accountability. So what are you still hanging on to? What lower vibrational frequencies are you still holding in your space? And they keep saying accountability. So this is going to be a big thing right now. Accountability, right? And you're going to find that especially if you're a teacher, a light worker, a space holder, you're going to find that others are not going to like you giving them the cliff notes right now. They're not going to appreciate you telling them what they can do to hold the light, or telling them how they can better themselves. And that's okay, because you can just bring that energy to yourself right now. The biggest way that we can lead by example right now is by shining our own light, doing our own work, right? And then holding space for those who are trying to do their own work, who are trying and who have more work to do. That's just, plain and simple. We do it without judgment. We do it without any kind of, oh, I'm better than you, or we don't do that at all. We understand that they're doing the work because they're here, they're on the mission. But we hold the space for them. When this time right now, we don't have to be the preachers. We don't have to be, don't do that, because you're going to find that it's going to rub them the wrong way, because they're raw right now. Their wounds are raw. Everything is at the surface. And you might be one of those people. I may be saying stuff to you in the video and you're like, oh, shut up. I don't want to hear anymore. You might be that. And just recognize, I always say, this is kind of the easiest way that I find to do it, is who's having that reaction like that? Which part of you would have that reaction? Which part of you has any kind of reaction except for compassion and love and understanding, right? Which part of you? It's your ego and your pain body, right? Your ego and your pain body. And what frequency do they thrive on? What frequency do they work with? They work in the fear. And do they support the dark agenda? Absolutely, because that's their home. That's what they like. They like the darkness. They like the heaviness. They like the drama, the trauma. They like that. But that's not who we are. That's not who you are. So remind yourself about that when you're having an emotional reaction that's not serving a purpose. I mean, it's causing a deficit in your energy. Or when you're falling into judgment or anger or bitterness or resentment, remind yourself that that's not who you are. It's part of your human vehicle, but you are here to ascend that. You are here to heal that. You are here to release that. And it's part of the purpose. It's part of your purpose. So hang in there. Have compassion for yourself if you're falling off the spiritual bandwagon. Have compassion for your brothers and sisters that are falling off the bandwagon. And put your hand out. You can put your hand out to reach out for help. But don't expect that everybody's going to take it from you. And don't take that personally. Sometimes right now, especially the way the energy is, it's best for you to keep that hand for yourself. Give yourself a hug while you're going through it. Have some more softness, more light, more compassion for yourself. Sending you guys huge blessings.